All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for ReZero Season 2, Episode 4. All right.
Daddy do. Like, okay.
Yes, Daddy, yes.
So,
I'm so excited
his
for
parents.
this. Uh-huh.
But not, this is the thing that still blows me away. It's not a backstory that we're seeing.
Right.
It's a present challenge that he is undertaking.
That could be based on actual memories or some kind of illusion or an actual thing of him being currently in the real world. We'll just have to see how they do it.
That's going to be crazy.
But it's so exciting because it is tackling the one awkward issue about Subaru is that he kind of just starts in the fantasy world and accepts it. So we don't
really think
know
back,
what his home life has been like. However, there are things that we can draw upon for evidence.
Yep.
And I would say that could actually get like really seriously delved into, especially given how the OP sets it up in that whatever happens, at least in this space here, is going to be very important.
Right.
Yeah.
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 I'm stoked.
Yeah, I'm really hyped. And also the idea that this is something that Echidna wants to have happen.
Yeah.
Not have it be with Emilia actually being able to go through the trial. Emilia was brought into this.
Very curious.
Which then knocked her out.
Yep.
So that Subaru would be forced to go in, even though he has no memory of the event where he met Echidna. Thus, he's unwittingly now doing the thing that she wanted him to do in the first place, which is like, oh my god, this show is really going hard into the high fantasy aspect of the main character being surrounded by extremely powerful people with magic. And thus, he's kind of at their whim a lot of the time.
He is indeed.
So, yeah. Y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. Oh!
Oh! Oh! All right.
Oh!
すげえな。緑の森ちゃん。お母さん、なんで俺だけこんなグリーンピース積んじゃったの？
She read something online. Something like that.
何の特別な日でもなくない？スバル。今日という日は、いや、どんな日もどんな時間も一緒に一度しか訪れない大切な時間。
Yeah.
This is amazing.
お母さん味噌汁の具はわかめ。パンに塗るのはいちごジャムが好き。
Why don't we combine our efforts?
お母さんグリーンピース嫌いなの。
Wait, hypocrite?
Yeah.
スバル、俺たちは今時珍しい。
Ah, so rare.
つまりお前とお母さんが嫌いなもんは俺だって嫌いだよ。誰も幸せにならねえ心遣いだったな。
So why was it made?
みんな大好きピラフにしてやるぜ。
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's all little round things. Yeah.
And he just starts.
It worked. There we go.
I love this family.
Oh yeah, it's
I love
great.
it so much.
There we go.
We're going to have sex, so you need to get out of here. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoa. Whoa.
Huh.
Whoa.
Normally calms it down. Wait, so this is something that just happened all the time when you were in the real world?
He moonwalked in!
Yeah.
I love this guy so much.
He's trying so hard to connect.
Yeah. I like that he's also not turning on the light. Like, he's not forcing it to be an environment that changes to suit his needs.
Right.
He's...
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of really cool things happening that are part of his routine. A little look away. Oh, your pride and joy!
Oh!
Oh! And yet they do actually look very similar.
Uh-huh.
Of course, it's the eyes. It's always the eyes. I like how the dad's not trying to like, trying to be like, no, don't make a big deal about it.
Right.
Cool. He's a man.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I love it.
If he's making this decision, then he has to really stick with this decision.
Well, yeah, it's his decision. I'm not going to.
あれだったらおんぶしてやるから家に帰るか。おんぶいらないし、戻んなくていい。戻っても一緒だから。
Really? Oh my god.
So is this because he's not going to school and he's internally conflicted, or because this kept him out of school?
率直になんで学校行かないんだって言えよ。人が珍しく気使ってやってるってのに。
For once. Oh.
その話がしたかったのは本当だから間違っちゃいないけどな。今朝のお前の面構えがちっとマシに見えてよ。
Wow.
面がマシ？面構えの話な。面は相変わらず目つきだけはお母さんに似てる。
どうして私を助けてくれるの？
There she is.
それとさっきの質問だけどさ。
There's a girl I like.
Yeah. Yeah.
好きな子
Yeah.
できたよ。
Yeah.
だから俺はもう大丈夫だ。
Okay.
Oh, wow.
That man, his parents are the best.
Ah.
何でもできるって
Oh, and that performance anxiety
Yeah.
just.
だって思い込ませてた。
Oh.
やることなすことばかりだって言って。
Oh.
何も考えないで暴れてばっかりで。バカな奴らだってそう思ってたよ。こんな楽しいこと俺と一緒にいなきゃ
Yep,
味
they
わえない
stopped
んだって
following. Yep.
俺はもっと高いところを見るんだって。
Yeah.
And you turn back and no one's helping you up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You were alone.
Yeah.
もう俺しか残ってなかった。そんな時ふと思ったんだ。
Wow.
ただ学校行きたくねえなってさ。
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And
そ
thus.
の後はずるずる
Yep. Yep. I'll do
週
that.
一のサボりが3日に1回になって
Yep.
Yep.
2日に1回になって
And just every
完全
day.
に学校に足が向かなくなるのに3ヶ月もかかんなかったな。父さんもお母さんもどんなに俺がみっともなくなっても変わらずに接してくれて、それが一番怖かった。
Because what if it changed with you guys?
お前なんか愛してない、
Mm-hmm.
お前なんか大嫌いだ、お
Wow.
前なんか俺の子じゃない。
But that was your foot. Yeah, yeah.
It might as well be my head.
俺に嫌われようとか思ってるくせにその方法が登校拒否ってアホか。
You think that would work?
捨てて欲しければもっと能動的にやれよ。誰が自分の殻にこもったぐらいで自分のだけ見捨てるか。
Oh my
挑
god.
戦な息子の曲がった少年だ。お望みなら俺が力ずくで叩き直してやってもいいんだが、どうもその必要もないぐらいにへし折られて立ち直った後みたいだから。
Oh,
Nice.
that was perfect.
Okay.
だろう。好きな子できたんだ。それに俺みたいなの好きだってそう言ってくれる子がい
Yeah,
たん
those
だ。
are two different people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
その子たちは俺のことを夏木健一の息子だ。
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
将来俺とお母さんをしっかり養ってくれよ。長男。
This is
Okay.
beautiful. Yep. Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
There you go, Super.
Yeah.
Just let it all out. It's
ごめんなさい。スバル。ごめんなさい。俺。もう二人ごめんなさい。俺何にも返せないままきっともう会えない。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。いつまで経ってもお前は手のかかる息子だよ。まったく。
The voice acting is so good.
任せとけよ父ちゃん
Yes!
俺の名前は
Yes!
夏木健一の息子だ
Oh!
なんだってやれるしなんだってやってやるあんたの息子すげえんだぜ
知ってるよ。何せ半分は俺でできてんだからな。
Look at that. Yeah, yeah.
Meanwhile.
Whoa. Whoa, did you see that?
緊張してるの？お母さんと一緒にマヨネーズになる？
Why? Why?
Actually cursed! What?
お父さんとお母さんが好きだから一緒に舐めてくれてただけだもんね。
何を根拠にそんな
じゃあスバルは世界とマヨネーズどっちを選ぶ
Whoa.
の？
いやそれを世界
ほらね。
下り顔して何がほらねえよその選択でマヨネーズ選ぶやつはマヨネーズが好きなんじゃなくて世界が嫌いなんだよ
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
そうなのね。
でなんでお母さんついてきてんの
yeah. That reaction!
出して親同伴で投稿って罰ゲームってレベルじゃねえぞ
学校まで行かないよ。ちょっとそこのコンビニまで。
Wow.
あのねスバル、親は子供が思ってる
Yeah,
子供
yeah.
のことよーく
They
見てる
do.
お母さんだってスバルのこと見てるんだよ。小さい頃は座薬だって入れたことあるんだからお尻の穴まで見てるんです。
すみません今ちょっといい話だったんで天然いらないんですよ
お母さんでもお父さんでもない誰かが何とかしてくれたんだよね。
Yeah, they
それは
did.
とてもいいことだと思いました。
Mhm.
その人に感謝しなきゃ。
すげえいい子たちなんだ
That's really
俺に
cool
はもったいないぐらい
because
でも誰か
We
に
know
言ったりしないんでしょ？
he's
当たり
talking
前だ
about.
し俺が釣り合うかどうかの問題じゃねえんだよ
And
誰
while
かにやるぐらいな
うん
ら釣り合わなくても俺のもんにするそれから俺の価値を積み上げるさ
right.
やっぱりあの人の子だね。
Nice coming full circle.
Yeah.
スバル。
もう自分が二人の子供でいた
I'll
くないって
never
思わ
not.
ないし
Yeah.
Mhm.
自分が嫌いになるようなこともしたくない
スバルが何を言いたいのかちゃんと分かってるか
どうして
ら。だってお母さんはスバルのお母さんなんだから。
All right.
Okay.
俺結局誰に何もできないわ
何かしてほしいから産んだわけじゃないんだよ。
Right.
何かしてあげたいから産んだの。
God damn.
This is so good.
大事なのは最初でも途中でもなくって
Right.
最後なんだから。
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Ah.
それって結果良ければオールオーケー
Oh,
Well.
that can lead you to some pretty.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Good, good, mom. Good, mom.
お母さん
Homework assignment.
Okay.
Yeah. You've got this. I'm passing this off to you. I
Right.
don't need to be. Ah, this is.
Yeah.
Ah.
Okay.
いってらっしゃい。
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, was that the last
いっ
thing?
てらっしゃい。
That was the last thing she actually said to him when
Yeah.
he left. So now he translates all of the things that he didn't understand before
Yep,
correctly
yep, yep.
because
Oh,
of this whole
man.
thing that he got to be able to go through here because of
Wow.
the magic of the trial or whatever. And I love this show.
That's wow.
So let's see it. Let's see it. He's going to school. He's late.
And then he goes back into the. Oh. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
思った
Okay.
より
Okay.
随分と早く
Whoa.
All right.
自分の過去と向き合う時間は君何をもたらしたかな。
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Amazing. So good.
Wow. Wow.
Ah.
I love that that's just an episode that we just got.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it could have totally not been in there, you know?
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have necessarily known that that was a spot that where something like this could have been, right? But
Right, right.
but it was there, and it was fantastic.
Oh. All right, well, hit me twice with the double parental therapy session.
I gotta say that was
amazing.
That was fantastic. I loved how kind of and this might seem like a negative, but I love how out of place this was in the season, right?
Yeah.
Because something like this, one, it would be very hard to fit into the narrative in a way that really, really made sense. So having it be something where, yes, he's still in the fantasy world and everything, but because of going through the test and everything, it brings all this stuff out of them.
Yep.
And then any potential questions of what the motivation, but for like echidna or things like that, you know, that complicates things. It makes it so that there is a tie-in, right?
Yes.
But more importantly, this is a great way to get to know Subaru, right? And for Subaru to get to know Subaru, because I feel like because of where the show started, in that very like, I'm a NEET, I'm going and getting the latest game, and then, I'm in a fantasy world.
You get to start from zero. And
you get to start from zero.
A whole new life.
In a lot of ways, that is the ultimate wish fulfillment for Subaru, right?
It is.
Because there's something that he hasn't been addressing, and this is where he gets to address it here. So it's introduced to us, the audience, in the same breath that Subaru is reconciling it, right? He's actually facing it because after all, he's faced, witch cults and things like that. He can manage to think back and be like, all right, why was I really not going to school, right? What do my parents really think and feel about me? Not just what I'm worried they might think and feel about me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Who
I love
is
it.
Natsuki Subaru?
Yeah.
Is Natsuki Subaru something that I decided to be, or is that something that other people placed enough labels on me based on my projected behavior because of how I saw my dad that now I can actually be anyone's hero? Yeah, I am so here for this kind of self-awareness Subaru because over the course of the first season, it was him becoming self-aware to, in some ways, the deconstruction of the harem protagonist thing that he was.
Right. The show itself has always been very meta.
Right.
But this is something where where
we're ironing in like this is Subaru.
Yeah,
this is not Subaru.
Because and I love it because the whole thing of him wondering, all right, who am I? To have for a self-insert blank slate protagonist, that's fantastic, right?
Oh yeah.
And I believe I've always said that Subaru is one of the best examples I can think of that kind of blank slate protagonist, right? Because it doesn't stay a blank slate. He gets filled in, right?
He's ripping on them in a lot of ways. And that is the meta joke of his character, is that once you've self-inserted into him in the beginning, and he becomes more and more self-aware of the course of all the struggles and stuff, you realize,
he did
wait
his
a
job
minute,
from that perspective.
I don't like this Subaru. He's got all these flaws, all these problems. This isn't my Natsuki Subaru.
It's almost like he's a person. You know?
It's almost like he's a person with serious flaws and strengths and complexities and contradictions and all this good stuff. And now we're going to see what was he born in? Where was he born from, if that makes sense? And this is so hilariously perfect as a point to bring it up, because this is when Echidna is asking, who are you? And he needs to go in, and in order to determine who he is, he looks towards his parents. So he frames the whole story in this episode around how do each of them see him. So the first half is his father, because his father is the most important in his life. You're his son, his son.
All that.
Like, you and me as brothers.
Oh, I'm very familiar.
We are all very familiar with this complex that can come about where you frame yourself too much around who your parents are, or how they see you, or how you believe they see you.
Right, because like we come from a big family.
Yes.
But within our family, me and Caleb were probably the two that took after our dad the most. Like just in general, or at least in the more noticeable ways, right?
In some ways, a way that kind of might have even screwed over our younger brothers, in that there was no more room to be like dad, because Caleb and Jacob might have already
and we were already competitive amongst each other
for that thing as well. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I love that they're getting into this here, because this is some. I mentioned the whole idea of Subaru's dealt with witch cults and stuff. This is no problem. No. This stuff is much harder than witch cults, right?
Harder.
And, maybe not in the tech, in like the literal physical,
logistical way,
right? In the logistical way, but in the emotional way. I mean, come on, like, because. And that's
bring on Betelgeuse again.
right. Bring on Betelgeuse. And the way that it's something where because again, with the mechanics of this, right? I have questions like, oh, how, like, is the magic just something that brings about something from, like, oh, it's all you, right? You know, it's just your worst, you know, nightmares or your insecurities or things like that, and then you create that space. Well, yeah, that's kind of what this is.
Yeah, it's not really as important with regards to the mechanics. Yeah.
And it's really not as impressive, right, within the magic, because I could absolutely see Subaru going through all this in his head. The thing is that this is something that scares him enough that he never actually goes to this place for any long period of time.
And yet now he's kind of stuck here.
Yeah, like for any of you that have...
And it hurts. It's uncomfortable.
For any of you that have gone through therapy with someone who actually knows their stuff, the biggest thing that they can do really is just shut up and kind of
let you take the space.
Let you take the space. Maybe do things to keep you talking, right? But to basically just make it so that you take care of it, right?
Right.
Because deep down, we really do know how to figure out our own problems, even if we're scared of walking through that path to get there, right? Because it takes time. It's not linear. You know, it might be something where we're walking blind, but we're still kind of going in the right direction, right? And we get there eventually. But hopefully, but the worst thing that we can do is to stop walking, because
stop moving,
it's dark. I can't see in front of me, right?
Yeah.
So in this situation here, where Subaru is put into a situation where no, you're trapped here until you resolve this stuff within yourself, however it works magically and things like that. And then it's he knows the big thing that's still sort of hanging over him. Yep. I love the detail of his mom being like, wait, I forgot something, take care. And then he flashes back to her saying, take care, before he left, never to come back again. Like, in the way that he's at the end of the scenes with each of his respective parents, he has that part where he admits, like, because he's going along with this too, even though he knows that this is all
a facade,
smoke and mirrors, basically, right? But it's still important, because he knows, this is probably about how they'd go. And then when his dad says something like, take care of us in our old age, right? And he's like, I don't think I'm ever going to see you again. Like, I don't know if I can do that. I wish I could,
God, I love this. I love this episode so much. There's so much in this that is therapeutic, not just for Subaru, but for the viewer. I think if anyone has ever been in a situation where you've been struggling to communicate with your parents a specific aspect of yourself that is not self-destructive, but something that is holding you
good.
Back, holding you back in some way, keeping you from moving, basically. The fact that each one of them exemplifies some specific aspect of Subaru, like you can see the 50% of Subaru that they each have in them. Yeah. And then when they go into these situations, they each play out basically the awkward kind of bumbling aspect of him as well. Perfectly. So you don't really need to ask the question about whether or not this is a facade, or if it's all in his head, or if there's something in the magic, or if this is a reinterpretation of events that did happen, but he said different things and they went a certain way. That's not really the point. The idea is that you literally can see the aspect of Subaru in his mom and his dad.
Right. So when if this is fake, this is real.
Exactly. So when his dad jumps into the room and they get into a wrestling match and they're doing all this stuff here. There's all these little things that the dad is doing and not doing that show that this is very much how Subaru would handle things if Subaru was helping, Amelia or Rem or Otto even,
Yeah. And another thing that I want to point out is that since we can posit basically that this is all from Subaru's mind, because it's not like Echidna has
there's no time travel involved. There's no
exactly.
Like,
this is
no wonky reality.
This is all mind
stuff.
Palace that's with using magic as the catalyst.
Yeah, she's asking who he is,
right?
And he's answering.
He's answering, right? The fact that there's all this detail that's preserved about his parents and the way they do things and the reasons why they do things. Yeah, that's preserved because Subaru noticed.
He noticed and he cared about it.
Right. He might not have necessarily known what to do about it. Because emotions are scary and things like that. And that's why he was still in need at the beginning of the show when he got pulled over.
And kids watch their parents
way more than they realize too. Yes.
That line about him saying,
God.
like her saying that about him and stuff like that.
Yep.
Oh, it just broke me, man.
I think my favorite part from this episode, like, was...
You can choose already. Oh my god.
Well, so because I see so many times in stories where they try and capture this, but I don't know if I've seen it done this well.
Or like this way.
Or this way, yeah. And I feel like this is one of those things where this is definitely like, even if details are different and things like that, you don't get this just by thinking it up in your head. You pull this from your own experiences in life and things like that, right?
Yeah.
I'll bet you that the author of the light novels has had conversations similar to these from his own life with either other adults that were really close to him or his own parents or something like that. Because the part where his dad goes and sits down on the bench and Subaru can tell what his dad's doing, he's basically saying, hey, I'm going to give you absolute normalcy. I'm not bringing it up.
I'm not going to say anything.
You know that I want to bring it up and that I probably will. But I'm showing that I'm very much focused on you. I'm not focused on whether you're going to school or how I feel about it or, anything like that. I'm entirely focused on wanting to make sure that my son's doing well. That's it. That's it. And it's something where it's so genuine and it's so loving that it actually perturbs Subaru, right?
Yeah, he's like, you should be judging.
You should be judging me. You should be getting angry, right? You should kick me out. All these things because it's that unspoken like agreement kind of I'm not doing well, right? I'm not doing well.
That's why you're here, right?
I know you would. I know I should be going to school. Should is, of course, a very, very nasty word, right?
Yeah.
And I know that I should. And you know that I know that I should. But I'm still not. So, are we going to talk about that, right? No, his dad's actually going to take the can of soda that's been shaken up a bunch and see if he can get Subaru to spray himself in the face. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I love that.
God, I could talk probably the whole day about how much I love what the dad does specifically. Because I think the dad being the one that's done first shows you're just like your dad, this is your father's son, those lines kind of being set up. Because no one was really comparing him, too much to his mother except the old guy who's saying, no, you actually kind of take after your mom, which I think is kind of the setup of the... People might say they look like your dad,
but they're not actually. They're not seeing the real you.
Yeah, they're seeing just like the superficial, external, and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, no, he actually really does look just like his dad. But this old guy's like, no, wait, actually,
there's more underneath the surface.
Yeah, exactly. You're a little bit more to 50-50. But the way the dad, I just want to highlight real this mad lad, this man that I love him so much. One, him coming in shirtless and stuff like this. Shows at one time he's not trying to put up any kind of pretenses or something like that. This guy's a goober just like his son in a lot of ways. So he's like, I'm going to be vulnerable and ridiculous with you. But also, I'm very proud of the fact that I look pretty good right now. So, yeah. Enjoy your dad coming in and sudden surprise attack.
Right. But grappling.
But little things like not worried about maybe hurting his son. Not trying to change the environment that his son is in.
Not walking on eggshells.
Exactly. Yeah. Jumping in and just being wild and crazy. And in some ways, potentially running the risk of hurting his son in some not necessarily deep way, but in some way of you're so invasive. You're always in my space,
It's you're being insensitive. Don't you know that I'm going through a tough time, Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not stupid. I'm your dad. So
of course I know.
Of course I know. But I'm not going to change anything about that.
Yeah.
And then something as silly as the peas.
Yeah.
Which are
turning it into a peel off. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, pun intended. I don't know if that was.
And the small round objects that people must eat, and the mother just being like, I am so horrified right now,
Yeah. I love how insistent he is on being involved in his life, despite none of what he's doing being something that is towards the efforts of changing his son or anything of the environment he's in.
Right. He does those little things of like, oh yeah, we'll need to eat fast, or or digest it on the while we run to school or something like that. And it's like, okay,
yeah, this is after he's already stopped going to school entirely.
Right. And it's been that for what was it? Quite a while.
I recently read up a bit on what agoraphobia is because of a specific streamer and stuff that I've been getting into a little bit more recently. But I thought that was going to be an explanation as to something that the Witch of Envy was utilizing as his pain when he was sharing vulnerable things about himself regarding Satella, which is basically how the return by death works and stuff. But that it was actually a physical condition that he was dealing with over the course of his life. This was my initial thought, and that was what it was, and that would go away once he had basically, not gone to school. What we now can interpret that is that is actually more of like witch's influence or something like that, because this is still,
but the thematic parallel is still there.
The parallel is something that the idea of him leaving that place that he had basically formed as a safe bit of nothing changes in here.
Yeah.
I don't have to look and listen to the images of my dad.
I will not be judged or measured or
compared. No performance anxiety here. And that it was basically a form of dreadful anxiety in that regard, that it was a fear of crowded open spaces and stuff like that. And yet it works really well with all this other stuff that we'd had over the course of Subaru's journey in season 1.
And then just the whole idea of, the witch clutching at his heart. Right now, clutching at the heart, like that is a we go after his heart, right? Like the whole idea of the heart being the place of vulnerability and stuff. That's nothing new, right? That's a pretty universal sort of motif, right? But the idea that it's showing this in his backstory, mind palace, therapy processing, right? That was something that kind of was a problem back then, even if it wasn't actually the witch grabbing him or whatever, anything like that. It wasn't necessarily manifesting in that way.
Yeah.
But it's still something where it's the no. Subaru has internal emotional issues that he hasn't resolved and worked through, and because he's kind of been putting that bold face on everything, right? Doing in a lot of ways what his dad would do, right? That hasn't been something he's had to face, right? It's another layer to the whole aspect of Subaru being that meta self-insert protagonist, right? There's more to it than that,
Yeah. And this Subaru having people in his life right now that see him as him, not connected or compared at all to his father or anything like that, was so huge for him just in general, that even though in the beginning of ReZero Season 1, you can very much tell that he was trying to be like his dad, even in the new world.
Yeah.
He assumed the role and basically was like, sweet, I can channel his persona in this environment where no one will be able to compare
me to anybody.
Well, me to him specifically.
Me to him. Yeah.
And then what did he get for that? He got slapped up in the face basically multiple times for trying to be someone that you're not, because he ultimately wasn't listening to the people around him in multiple ways. So we end up getting Subaru coming out of that whole thing because of the whole thing with Rem in a lot of ways.
Right, exactly. And that is another example of this, with this being the one that addresses the direct emotional issue, whereas that was addressing the emotional issue that was brought about as a result of the very extreme physical, practical situation that he was in.
Right. But God, didn't your heart just drop when you started hearing the actual story here? Because this is such a basically, I would say how would I describe this? The way in which he started with I thought I was special. And in some ways, like, if you had like an adult going through this or something like this, you'd be like, oh, baby man, like you thought you were special or something like that. It's like you didn't grow up, and it's like, no. This is a kid, foremost here. This is a kid. A lot of kids end up getting into the sometimes because of the parents,
Sure.
put into the delusion that they are special, which does carry into adulthood. And oh my God, I have seen these people, and it is a mental health problem of the utmost degree.
It definitely causes issues.
It causes issues.
And it's also just hilarious when you think about the idea that, yes, Subaru is the self-insert protagonist, but the whole point of him is that he's the one that's not special, right?
Exactly.
He doesn't have any crazy magic powers, and yet he's in this situation, and what is he going to do, right? What would it actually be like if you or me got transported to a fantasy world, right?
So in the real world, it's him realizing that he's not special.
Yep.
Which is just the truth. Yeah,
Yeah.
none of us are special in any special way, but we are all our own person.
Right. There's benefits
For the most part.
There's benefits to both ways of thinking, and you want to have both because there's
50-50.
negatives to both as well, right? On the side of the, I'm special, that can help motivate you and galvanize you to action that others otherwise wouldn't take because you expect yourself to be
You're
different.
the only you.
Right, exactly, right. But then on the other hand, that can go into delusional stuff where then you're expecting way too much of yourself and all sorts of things and whatnot. And the whole line from the mom of, if that's what you really thought, then I wouldn't have. Oh my God, that was so good.
I wouldn't have had as much trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. But then on the other hand, I'm not special, right? That is something where there can definitely be a comfort to that, because then if something happens, no, that's fine. Everybody deals with this, right?
Yep.
And if everybody deals with this, then I can deal with it too,
Yeah.
right? But then also, I'm nobody special, therefore
Am I special to someone or something?
Right,
like that?
right. Or maybe I won't necessarily try or apply myself at anything because I'm just nothing special.
Yeah. And thus the answer lies neatly in the middle, between mom and dad, between the real world and the fantasy world, between the I'm not special or I am, Natsuki Subaru.
Yeah.
And
because
he gets basically the idea that, okay, I can move forward now. I can. I don't need to be anyone else other than Natsuki Subaru. That's enough.
Because Subaru, yes, you do have your return by death thing that helps with how a lot of people see you right now.
Yes.
But even
though they don't know about it.
Even though they don't know about it. Because, it definitely, that is something about you that is definitely special at the moment.
Right.
But even outside
Barring
of that,
that,
barring that, right, in the iterations that didn't end up making the cut to the final canon timeline, there were plenty of things that you did that people saw as being special. Right?
Yeah.
And in fact, it was a big struggle for you when those things didn't get saved, when they got erased over, and then all that, progress essentially you had made with how a character saw you was reset to zero.
Yeah, reset to zero, yep. Hence the show's name. I just feel like this is one of those episodes in anime that I could rewatch just to feel things, man, because this was powerful.
And what I really hope is, because I could also see this being something where people are like, it was just a bunch of weird stuff with like Subaru being in like regular world and stuff. I don't want ReZero for that. I want ReZero for the fantasy and the action and stuff. And like, I get that, but this is a good shit right here. Like the fact that we have this episode blows me away.
Yeah,
like it absolutely blows me away, and
it feels out of place in the best kind of way.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where anytime, and usually I would hear this when people either hadn't seen season 2 or before season 2 had come out, but when they were like, oh, ReZero is great, but that main character, it's, you got to get past him, and it's like, no. Subaru is one of the best things about this show. Like, yes,
I've only heard that from people that haven't even gone through half of season 1.
What I think it was is that they basically focused too much on the points where Subaru was like, his flaws made him be like cringe in moments, like when he white knights for Amelia at the meeting and things like that, right? But it's like, but no, that's the whole point, right?
Yeah,
we get to see those parts so that we can see him grow past those parts, so that he can acknowledge those and how he reacts to, his own opinions of himself when he looks in the mirror and is like, oh, damn it. That's...
Yeah, that's there.
One of the other...
I just wanted to say the stuff with the mom being able to basically have this moment where she's like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to the convenience store. I'm not following you to school. No, don't worry. Having these little goofy moments where she says kind of in the same way that her husband does. You know, sometimes too much. Sometimes just a bit too much that's insensitive or awkward.
I gave you the
hilarious. Or, I gave you the suppository.
Yeah, I've seen your butthole. Yeah,
so,
yeah.
like, you know, there's nothing that I haven't seen. He's like, oh, this was a nice conversation up until now.
Right.
But what she's basically saying is that I can give you an assignment that will be just become who you want to be. Just you be you. But, like, I want you to feel like that's a task that I think you can do. And you just, you know, go do your best in your own way, which is the kind of thing that I'd say a lot of parents try to communicate. But sometimes the way that they communicate it pushes a performance anxiety mode onto them there. And he ends up taking it in some way that she quickly denies.
Yeah, of like, oh, so, you know, ends justify the means, basically. And she's like, whoa, hold on now.
Am I doing all right? Am I living up to the expectations of that? He's like, no, you don't have to worry. Half of you is me, after all.
Yeah.
And thus, he's basically set free before he could be entrapped again in the same thing there. But I just love how quickly he nearly snapped back into the same
and how quickly
process.
it was addressed. Because even the whole thing of like, no, just be half as cool as your dad, that I could see some people looking at that and being like, that's a compromise. That's not telling him what you need to tell him. No. It's acknowledging the fact that, if you want to be like your dad, go for it, right? Because
there's nothing wrong with that.
What kid doesn't want to be like their parents, you know, assuming you have good parents
Assuming
and everything,
you have
right?
good parents.
Assuming you have good parents, right? So, you can have that, but that's not everything. That's not everything. You're also you, so don't stress it.
Right. Yeah. And also, again, your environment is going to dictate a lot anyway. So you're going to find out that you are kind of 50-50 of your parents and your... you are 50-50 with your parents and stuff like that. But as you leave, as you break off from the world, as the child dies and you go on to be who you are, there's going to be parts of you that we didn't teach, that we didn't give you. And this was the part that I thought was genius. The show was trying to highlight the idea that the characters in his fantasy world, which I think is also a brilliant little bit of things where the writer can hold the idea of the, no, I'm never going to make this the it was all a dream storyline. But don't let that go.
But this was all a dream and it still meant something.
Well, right, but I mean, don't let that go because you can then forget why Subaru needed this in addition to it being the curse of a witch that potentially brought him here.
Right, this is really happening, but what a wonderful thing to happen amidst all the struggle and pain and everything that happened.
But this is the part that I think that the show is heading towards. Subaru's arc is not eventually him realizing that it's the friends he made along the way or anything like that, but that he's going to change him because those people that aren't his parents also includes him. He is not his parents, therefore the person that's going to end up shaping him the most is not even going to be Rem or Amelia, even though he was thinking of them in that instance. It was like his mom was giving him like that final little bit of nugget of wisdom of, you'll think back on this at some point, and you'll realize that I was also including you in that bit there.
This all came from your head anyways.
I know. It's so good.
One of the other things that I want to point out, and this is just like a little detail in it, and maybe I'm harping on it too much, but I really liked how they showed that Subaru was way taller than his mom. Because with a lot of the things that happen in this episode, Subaru is kind of insecure about the fact that he feels like he kind of hasn't matured. Right, you know, when he did his high school debut, he did things that worked. You know, when he was a little kid, but don't work anymore.
Goofy, and everyone kind of looked at him like, oh, kind of cringe.
What are you doing? Yeah, exactly. And when he's talking about wanting to go back to school and things like that, he even brings up his own weakness as, why do I have to be so pathetic like a kid? All that stuff, right? Now, from one perspective, I can see why that would really sting because, look at how tall I am. I'm not a kid anymore, right? You know? On the other hand, no, it's okay. I'm not a kid anymore. I got this, right? It's the yes, while there is growth that maybe needs to happen in here, I'm in my element, right? It's the, like, it made it, and it's a slightly different thing, but it made me think of the line in Fiddler on the Roof. If any of you guys have seen that movie or watched the play,
movie.
Great play. Yeah. But there's a point where there's this middle-aged couple that are watching basically their daughter get married, right? And they're looking at their daughter and her husband, and someone who they've known their whole lives. They watch him grow up too, and they're just like, when did our daughter get so beautiful, and when did that little boy get so tall? Like just realizing the passage of time, and again, this is all from Subaru's head, right? And I feel like that's and I'm probably reading way too much into this specific detail, but I feel like that's representative of him also acknowledging, no, it's okay. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm Subaru, right? I am my own person. I've grown up, right? And this is now the journey that I'm on.
Yeah.
So
it is really funny too also how the show geniusly set us up to go, he's totally his son.
Yep.
And then used that as one of the main aspects of one of his complexes regarding growing up. And all this is going to lead to a conversation in a classroom with Echidna, which seems just very much like another let's layer even more little Monogatari style potential options there.
But so she has a lot of information on him now.
A lot.
Potentially an awful lot.
Yeah.
If she wanted to use it against him, she absolutely could. But she also basically just gave him a 3-month therapy session or whatever it ended up being.
Yeah, he's going to be really useful to her, but I feel like he's going to make a lot of big changes and influence in the grander story now because he was able to go through this.
Right, and she had to have known, even if she doesn't know what's going to happen in the future, she had to have known how much this was helping him.
She's not antagonistic towards him.
No, right. But at the same time, she's the evil magic user, right?
But is she?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah,
because
she could be extremely manipulative with how she's setting this up. But I think the main issue that we're going to get into here is that the witches in general have already been colored with our perspective. Our perspective has been colored on them in a way that is maybe a bit off from the truth.
And this is something I'm holding very, very lightly because I want to see if any additional evidence or whatever gets brought up in parallel to this. But all this new information that we're getting about the witches and everything, that's just from Echidna. And Subaru doesn't have any way of verifying it because he doesn't remember that initial meeting. So
he doesn't even remember any of that information.
Yeah.
Either.
So it's not like that's deceiving him or anything and whatnot. Right. But there is very much the possibility that Echidna is doing misinformation manipulation and things like that. But who knows?
The result of probably getting out.
Right. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
okay, y'all. Fantastic stuff. Can't wait for the next episode. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
Yes, we stream Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Wait, no, hold on. Info's in the description. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.